Hello everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Hey Sonic, hope you're doing well. Oh, it's nice. I didn't know you had a retro game job. That's pretty cool. And you're playing through some Castlevania. Nice, nice, nice. How's my Switch 2 experience so far? It's pretty good. I mean, I'm not really disappointed with it just because my only ask with the Switch 2 was basically just be like the original Switch, but more powerful. And then the only Switch 1 games that I've played so far have been Lumines Remastered, which I bought because it was on sale for something like $5, and I had about $3 in the Nintendo coin stuff that I could spend. So I bought that, and that's been really fun since I only in like passing a long time ago played Lumines, but I was never really good at it. But I really like it. And the reason I bought that is because of course they announced the Luminous Arise game from Enhance, who are the same team that did the Tetris Effects, which is a game I really like. So, and then I wouldn't really consider the Switch 2 ports of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom backwards compatible stuff, but I've been tinkering around with those. I've actually been playing I've spent more time replaying Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch 2 version than I have playing Mario Kart World. Not that that's a knock against Mario Kart World because it's a good game, but $80 good? I personally don't think so. But anywho, this stream, in case you guys didn't see my little write up on the channel earlier, I think I put it out yesterday when I did the premiere video thing for this stream. This is going to be a little bit of a different stream than what I usually do. So normally when I stream, I play I play a game and I chat with you guys, or I am watching an event and I chat with you guys. This is going to be different because I have a lot to say about PlayStation's recent financial report that came out a couple days ago. And I have a lot to say because they talked about some things that definitely got my PR speak bullshit sensors going almost on overdrive listening to some of this. And I wanted to show you guys some of the slides and talk about them from their investor meet. We're not going to go over every slide because most of it I don't really care about. It's the same old, these are how many monthly active users we have, and this is how many people play on the PS4 versus the PS5. I don't care about that. I genuinely don't care. But what I am interested in are the slides that have to do with PlayStation Studios and things like their upcoming slate of games and how they phrase certain games in the live service initiative. And they updated the genre chart for their studios, their first party studios that they have in house. And then after we go over the slides, we're going to be looking at a video that they put out along with the presentation, which is they label it a fireside chat. Now, from my experience, at least in my opinion, I believe a fireside chat should be as open and honest as you possibly can. You're trying to make yourself look authentic for your audience or whoever the hell is watching your stuff. You know, the fireside chats have been a thing since many years ago. I think presidents did them. Game companies do them. Oop, I bumped my mic holder. And video game companies do them as well. And this is probably, this to me is not, you'll see, but I'll point out some things with this fireside chat in quotes that to me reek as one of the most inauthentic things that PlayStation has done in recent memory. I mean, this video that I'm going to show you, it's almost like a masterclass in PR bullshit. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at some of the slides, and yeah, we'll go from there. This is a little bit of an experiment as far as what I want to do with this live stream, so it might be a tad rough, so bear with me. But we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to start first with this presentation, and I'm actually going to be on camera for once. So, hello. Hi. I'm going to be on camera. Let me actually... hold on. There we go. Okay. So, and probably get to some questions later, Sonic, just so it doesn't interrupt the flow of the thing that I want to talk about. I doubt, just to answer your question, I doubt those are going to get boosts for backwards compatibility, not natively at least. So this is a presentation, obviously, called the Game and Network Services segment, which is part of PlayStation or Sony's overall thing. And it's presented by, of course, the president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Hideaki Nishino. And more importantly, in my opinion, it's from CEO of the software side of SIE, which is Herman Hulst, of course, the infamous Herman Hulst by now. Like I said, I don't really care about a lot of these slides. Most of these aren't really interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, they talk about monthly active users and how much money is spent on content and peripherals on the PS5 versus the PS4 and stuff like that. Like I don't care about this. This is not interesting to me at all. But what I do want to point out, I'm not going to spend too long on this, but this to me was a little alarming. And I've known this to be true for a long time, but when you see that 53% of the revenue from this last fiscal year is coming mainly from 10 games or services, you can see why their shareholders are definitely more interested in PlayStation pursuing this live service thing over the traditional structure. Because they take a look at these games and they go, we want PlayStation to have something like this as well. And the problem that I've always had is that, or at least the problem that I've always proposed with this, is that PlayStation does not have the cachet to be an institution like, oh, you're good. You're good, David. Thank you for coming. So you have things like EA Sports FC, which is the soccer game or football everywhere else in the world besides the United States. Roblox, which is enormous. Call of Duty, obviously. NBA 2K, obviously. EA Play, it's a consortium of games. Ubisoft's classics as well. GTA 5, of course. EA College Football, which has been an enormous hit. I'm surprised it's already here on this chart, because I expected something else to maybe be in place of EA Sports College Football, and not. I expected maybe Madden to be here instead, but college football has been just an undeniable massive success for EA. Genshin Impact, which is enormous, and Fortnite, obviously. So these 10 games / services make up for 53% of the revenue. And the reason, again, that I'm highlighting this is because these higher-ups, these big corpo people at PlayStation and their shareholders see a statistic like this, and they just start salivating at the mouth, where they go, wow, we may make 30% off the rip of all these games, but we need our own thing like this that we can put into this chart. And again, the problem is that they are arriving very late to this party. And the only reason that a new release like EA College Football is here is because it's EA Sports College Football. It's a sports game. That is the only reason that is here. So if PlayStation thinks, and MLB The Show, I'm sure is a good stuff, but it is not college football. It's just not. I'm sorry to San Diego studio. I know they work hard on MLB The Show. It's just not college football. It's just not Roblox. It's just not soccer. It's just not NBA 2K. It's just not. I'm sorry. So the next slide I want to talk about very briefly, and this is where we get into the studio business part of this. This is going to be the section that I'm going to focus on because it is a lot. I have a lot to say about this. So I want to first take a look at this slide because it's a slide I find very amusing, considering the alleged talk about one of, well, PlayStation's biggest failure of all time versus the game that was coming out around the same time as it. And again, which I called you have, of course, Astrobot and Concord, which of course I called the Astrocore dichotomy, where you have two products from the same company, except one is so antithetical to what this company represents and it fails, and the other company is very faithful representation of the spirit of that company, and it succeeds. And Astrobot succeeded so much in PlayStation's eyes, maybe not financially, but critically. And again, I've said this many times, if there's one thing that PlayStation loves more than money, it's prestige. They love seeing this. They love seeing that they have won the Game of the Year at the Game Awards. They love seeing that they've won at the DICE Awards. They love seeing that they've won at the BAFTAs. It's a huge honor for them. They love it. They love prestige, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because they wish to maintain a high standard of quality for a lot of their games, because they want to be included amongst these awards. It's a double-edged sword because they spend a lot of money, too much money in my opinion, to appeal to the standards that could propel these games into these kind of award considerations. But I cannot tell you how much I love to see that PlayStation Astrobot has been such a critical success for PlayStation that they are labeling little darling Astrobot an ambassador of the PlayStation experience. Now, I don't think I've ever seen another mascot being labeled this. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I don't think I've ever seen PlayStation in one of these corpo suit things label one of their mascots an ambassador. It sounds very distinguished for the little guy, which I love. But the thing with Astrobot, if you know the alleged history of Concord, is that Herman Hulst was running around and being this massive champion about Concord. Just running around calling it the future of PlayStation, Star Wars-like IP. Apparently he wasn't the only one. Apparently other executives were allegedly saying just completely delusional things like this. And that game failed so badly to the point where that will be mentioned in not this presentation, but the next one. Oh, hey, Nero, how's it going? No, you're good. Don't worry. But I love that Concord failed so much that they won't even talk about it in this presentation. They'll talk about it in their scripted fireside chat, which I'll go over later today. But I love that little Astrobot. The game that they're like, oh yeah, Astrobot. It's not a live service, but we'll throw it out there for the people, and it just like explodes with this big success. Again, probably not hugely financial success considering they don't mention sales here. But even so, one point, I think at the time they talked about sales, it was like maybe a little over 2 months after launch, and it had already sold 1.5 million copies. And the most interesting statistic from that presentation for me about Astrobot was that I believe it was something around 60% of people who bought Astrobot had not bought a first-party PlayStation game in 2 years. Which is a very eye-opening statistic, considering you assume PlayStation's core audience, the people that are here, they're here for the things like Ghost of Yotei. They're here for the things like Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2, stuff like that. But they did not buy things like Spider-Man 2 or Ragnarok, but they did buy Astrobot. Again, it's a great sign that there is an audience out there that is not being served, and PlayStation now is in a position to say, hey, we need some genre diversity here. And we're getting kind of a little taste of that. We got a little bit of a taste of that during the State of Play with Marvel Tokan, or I think it's called Marvel. I don't know how I'm pronouncing Marvel Tokan or Marvel Tokan. I think it's Marvel Tokan. I know the O is like a Yote. But Marvel Tokan is I think is a very positive step in the right direction when it comes to PlayStation's genre diversity. And there's another game that they have in development that I've heard about that's a Metroidvania. And again, that's something that PlayStation, I can't remember the last time PlayStation did a 2.5D Metroidvania. It's been many, many years since they've done something like that. But I love that they're willing to embrace a new genre like this. That gives me like a tiny little bit of hope, like tiny little bit. And then I watched the fireside chat, the corpo speak bullshit fireside chat that they're gonna have, we're gonna see later, and it's the most like cold, flat, boring PR scripted, market approved thing they could possibly do. And it's you'll see it's almost the exact opposite of how I'm talking to you guys, where I'm just, I'm very animated because I'm very passionate about talking about this. Like I mentioned in the post about this video when I was talking about what it was going to be like. I'm very animated when it comes to something like this. I'm very passionate about it because I love this kind of insider baseball shit, especially around the live service initiative. So anyway, I'm going to move on from this, and we're going to go back up to here. Now, what this is a, and you can't see, so my webcam is blocking a little bit of a portion of that. So in the bottom right corner, I know you can't see it with the camera, is they're mentioning XDev, and they're mentioning like XDev Publishing, and they have Arrowhead, Kojima Productions, and ongoing partnership with additional studios written there. I apologize you can't see it because of my camera. And I assume one of those additional partnerships that they're talking about is, of course, Arc System Works with Marvel Tokon, because XDev was all over that behind the scenes video about Marvel Tokon. So this to me is an important infograph because I have cited the previous version of this infograph multiple times in multiple videos. And for reference, this is what it used to look like. Where in the single player narrative, they split things into single player narrative focus, partner studios, evolving multi-genre, and live service focus. And of course, you have the obvious studios in the single player stuff like Insomniac, Nasobi, Naughty Dog. And evolving multi-genre, I assume this means, they'll work on either a live service or they'll work on maybe a single player game or something like that. I've never really understood why Polyphony Digital is here. I don't know why they don't consider Gran Turismo 7 a live service. I don't know why that's not in the live service focus, but probably because they don't. Probably because they know publicly this chart is going to come out. They don't want to see. They know people don't want to see Polyphony Digital, like a storied, well-respected developer like Polyphony Digital, being in a live service focus portion of this chart. And for live service focus, and again, I apologize, my camera is blocking one of the studios that's listed there. It doesn't really matter because they're now closed. So in live service focus, you got San Diego Studio, who of course do MLB The Show. You have Bungie. You have Firewalk, who now are dead. You have Haven, who I assume soon to be dead in a little while. And the one that I'm blocking with my camera is Neon Koi. Now, Neon Koi was the studio that was doing that mobile game that was canceled, and then they shut the studio down, which I'm not going to cry over that, considering they were making a mobile game. This mobile game initiative can die in a fire for all I care. But another thing I disliked about this chart was up here in partner studios. So you'll have Nixxes, obviously, because they do all the PC ports, Valkyrie, and then they had Bluepoint. And this Bluepoint's inclusion in the partner studios was concerning to me because I assumed Bluepoint would be in something in either the single player narrative focus or in the evolving multi-genre. But the fact that they were in the partner studios portion of this is that they were working on the God of War live service, which I didn't know about at the time when I saw this chart. But then once that information came out after it was canceled, it made more sense why Bluepoint was in this partner studios. because I assume they themselves weren't writing it or directing it. They were just working on it, and it was probably under the supervision of Santa Monica, or maybe co developing it with another studio. But this is an old version of that chart, and this is the new version. And you'll notice some differences. So single player I think is exactly the same, where they have Insomniac, they have Housemarque, Asobi, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, Santa Monica, Fire Sprite. I don't know about Fire Sprite, but that's a topic for another day. Under evolving multi-genre, this is where you're going to see some differences. You got Media Molecule, Gorilla, Bend, Polyphony, same as the last chart. Bluepoint has now been changed from co-development, and they renamed this from partner studios to, or support, I think it was like partner or support studios. What was it called? Partner studios. So they got changed from a partner studio to now an evolving multi-genre studio, which to me, I assume this means that Bluepoint, instead of doing support work for other studios, which is something they never should have been doing. I mean, it's like, I've said this ad nauseum. I'm trying not to repeat things that I've said before, but you buy Bluepoint because they are a remake. They are masters of remaking / remastering games. You don't buy them to then have them go be support duty for God of War Ragnarok, and then go be support duty maybe co-lead developer on a God of War live service at all in general. So it's a little encouraging to see that they are now in the evolving multi-genre portion of this. So that could possibly clue in that they might be working on an original IP, or they might be working on a remake, something that is much more in their wheelhouse, not working on a damn live service, which again, never should have been working on. Ever should have been working on that. The most interesting inclusion for me in evolving / multi-genre is Dark Outlaw games. And Dark Outlaw, this is the new Jason Blundell studio that is centered in LA. I would have bet money on them including Dark Outlaw games in the live service portion. So this tells me that whatever Dark Outlaw is working on, more than likely it's going to be a first-person shooter, given Jason Blundell's history with Treyarch, working on COD Zombies and whatnot. This tells me that there might be some kind of single-player portion to their game. And it's not strictly going to be this live service thing that I assume the other recent edition like Team LFG and the live services portion is going to be. So that's a little encouraging for me personally, because I am curious. I'm way more curious about Dark Outlaws game than I am about Team LFG. Team LFG, just from everything that they've talked about with this, has just been, it's like, speaking of Team LFG, the live services portion has, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the live services portion of this chart has definitely gone through some changes. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but 2 studios are missing. I wonder what those could be. But we have San Diego studio, obviously, with Haven, fortunately still there. Bungie, unfortunately. And Team LFG. Now, I did a whole video about Team LFG. It's not a surprise at all to see them in the live services. If you want to know my further thoughts on Team LFG and that whole thing, you can check out my video that I made about it. I believe it was last month that I did the video about that. I think that's all I have to say about this chart. So I don't know if you guys have any comments about this chart. Some of the games, just let me know. So we're gonna move on. This is kind of just, obviously they're not gonna put a date or a fiscal year to Intergalactic or Wolverine, because I think Wolverine is kind of going through some shit right now, but nothing specific from the chart. All right, but yeah, fiscal year 2025. These are honestly like two of my most anticipated games from this generation in like the span of a few months. So this is pretty exciting for me personally because I'm a big fan of the original Death Stranding and the original Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm really looking forward to these two games. They should be pretty cool. These will be a nice reminder of what like good how good PlayStation can be after years of suffering, minus the saving grace of the generation Little Astrobot, of course. Now, here's where we're going to get into the live services thing. And this is where I find Sony's presentation of their live service roadmap to be a little I would say disingenuous might be the word. I don't want to say delusional or deceptive yet. I want to say what word? I just had a brain fart. So it is a little disingenuous. Sorry, a little disingenuous. So fiscal year 2021, they obviously are talking about MLB The Show. That's always been labeled as a live service. Destiny 2. This is I have a problem with Destiny 2 being here. I know, technically speaking, Destiny 2 is a PlayStation live service. It's sad, but it's true. What I don't like about it being here and them going on and on about Destiny 2 is that it's like, dude, you did not incubate Destiny 2. This is not technically yours. This is like a thing that you bought later on when it was already like well past its maturation date. It's the same thing like with when an Xbox crows about how much they, look at us. It's a Call of Duty is a premier Xbox Microsoft gaming property. It's like, no, you bought the damn thing. Like, you didn't incubate this. Like, I understand Helldivers 2. I even understand Fair Games to an extent because they did incubate that. But Destiny 2 and Marathon, it's like, no. And then look at this gap here. It's very noticeable because you have these three presented in like a nice little not symmetrical, but a nice little neatly designed little angle there. Then you have Marathon and Fair Games, and those are presented at a nice little angle right here. Big gap where fiscal year 2024 is right there. I wonder, three guesses what? I wonder what was supposed to go there in this chart, potentially. Now, another thing that you might have noticed is that Marathon is listed under fiscal year 2025. Why is this important? Because never once during this entire chart, during the fireside chat that we're going to take a look at later, do they ever mention the exact specific release date of Marathon? They only say fiscal year 2025. Now, you could make an argument that, well, they don't mention, the specific release dates for Death Stranding 2 or Ghost of Yotei in those. And fair enough. That's a fair counterpoint to what I'm saying. When you're a live service, when the way they're hyping up this live service initiative, you would think you would want to tell investors that your next big live service, the initiative that you've bent yourself over into a pretzel and humiliated yourself to get going, that just blew up mainly on the runway, you would think you would want to tell your investors when it's specifically coming out. At least I would if I was in charge of this. I would like here is when our next big live service is. September, I believe it's September 23rd is when Marathon comes out. Fiscal year 2025. And what this tells me, and specifically because Herman Holst, you're going to hear him say fiscal year 2025. You're not going to hear him say September 2025. You're not going to hear him say 2025. You're not even going to hear him say September. You're going to hear him say fiscal year 2025. And that's important because what this insinuates to me is that Marathon is delayed. I don't know if it's going to be delayed until November. The fiscal year 2025 is anything between now and I believe March 2026 for PlayStation. So this could come out anywhere between now and March 2026. Which, even then, if they delay Marathon to March, like let's say they delay it all the way to March 2026, end of the day, and the final day of March 2026, I think it's the 31st. March 31st, 2026. I still personally do not think that is enough time to really. It's definitely going to put Marathon in a better spot, but I don't think it's going to be the saving grace of a delay that they think it is. And funnily enough, Fair Games, which we have not seen this thing since May of 2023, does not have a fiscal year attached to it. So this is definitely coming, if it comes out at all, this is definitely coming out after March 2026. I would imagine probably in the summertime, maybe, if they want to. Because, like, how long is PlayStation going to throw money at Fair Games? They have to throw money at Marathon because they need Bungie to succeed. They need to recoup some of the nearly $4 billion, the insane $4 billion they've spent on Marathon. But Fair Games, how long are they gonna I love the AI description. A group of people playing instruments on stage. I don't really think that's what that is, but you know, more power to you, AI generated description. So that's interesting to me. That immediately caught my eye when I was looking at this a few days ago. Now, another thing you're going to notice with PlayStation, the way they're presenting this information, this live service stuff, again, disingenuously, is that you're going to hear them talk a lot about Helldivers 2, which to me is fascinating because, again, I feel very proud for saying that I always believed, and you could go back the moment this was announced, I always said that I believed Helldivers 2 would be successful. I didn't think it would blow up to the success that it has had over the last few years, or the last almost year and a half. But this is an incredible number for PlayStation. Like, PlayStation is damn lucky to have a game like Helldivers 2. And I find it to be just insulting that they are just, it's like, this is not enough for them. I think they are, personally, I think they're lucky to even have a Helldivers 2. A game that is still enjoying a healthy player count, where other games for more platforms are sinking below those player numbers that this consistently gets on Steam. And again, they care about the prestige. Won awards at the Game Awards, won awards at BAFTA. Multi-award winner with a strong and highly engaged player base. 3.6 million monthly active users. That's what the MAU stands for as of March 31st, but that's still pretty damn high. And again, it's a huge credit to Arrowhead. I think besides the difficulty controversy that they brought upon themselves during the first months of this game's release, I think besides that, they have done an excellent job with Helldivers 2. There's been some bumps in the road even after that, like with the Killzone thing, but I give Arrowhead a lot of credit for nurturing this game, responding pretty almost like really well beyond the initial like bad times, like what Obi-Wan said, the dark times. So I find it personally insulting that they are consistently bringing up Helldivers 2 as kind of like a, hey, look, this is us, and we have Helldivers 2, guys. And then they try to kind of not contrast, but to make it flow from look at the achievements that we've made, that we've had with Helldivers 2. We're gonna get that, bring that same strong achievement to Marathon. Again, strong early engagement for Bungie's bold and innovative new title. If I have never seen so much bullshit packed into a short amount of words like this. Let me read this for you all. Strong early engagement. Let's stop there. What kind of early engagement has Marathon been mostly getting? Sure, it's been getting engagement. You're gonna hear that again. This is another word you're gonna hear a lot when Herman Hulst starts talking. Engagement, engagement, engagement. If I took a shot for every time Herman Hulst says engagement during this presentation, the fireside chat, I would die before this stream would be over. What kind of engagement is Marathon getting? Mostly negative. You want to know why? Because a little thing called plagiarism. And this was even, like, never mind the plagiarism. The alpha didn't really light the world on fire. A lot of its thunder got taken by Arc Raiders. And to show you what I mean for strong early engagement for Bungie's bold and innovative new title. What is Bungie doing with Marathon that to me is bold or innovative? I personally don't like. I must have seen like hours of gameplay from this game just doing my research, and I'm sorry. I maybe that guy in the Vidoc or whatever the hell the streamer paid content creator thing that they did when they had their gameplay reveal. Maybe that one guy that was front facing in the camera going, "This is gonna change the game, dude." Maybe that guy can tell me what's bold and innovative about Marathon. But in the hours of footage that I have watched from Marathon, I don't see it. I personally don't see it, guys. I'm sorry if there are any Marathon fans in the chat. I doubt there are, but I personally don't see it when it comes to this whole thing. And let me show you another chart that I find to be very interesting. So this is a chart from SteamDB. And I want you to pay attention to something. Driving and listening to. Oh, hey, Richard. So this is the SteamDB chart. Now, SteamDB is not, I will admit, is not 100% accurate. I bet it's not. But this is as close to an accurate metric as we're going to get for Steam. So this is when Marathon's alpha started. Now, keep in mind, again, I do have to say some caveats. Marathon's alpha was closed. Marathon's alpha was only in the United States. And it did not have a good rollout. So these are caveats that I am more than willing to grant to this alpha and to Bungie and to Marathon. These are the numbers that it got when the alpha came out. About 6,919 all-time peak concurrent player count. What do you notice about this? Down. That's what you notice about this. Sharp decline compared to when it first came out. Even after a few days, it was down from 6,919 concurrent players. Less than half. 3,233. Keep going. More. By the end of the alpha, it had a peak concurrent player count of about 679. Even with this small sample of players, this should scare the hell out of Bungie. If I am in charge of PlayStation and I am seeing a sample size of, and these are hardcore people who joined Bungie's Discord server to get into this Marathon alpha. They wanted this. And even with this statistic comprising of a lot of hardcore Bungie Marathon extraction shooter, whatever you want to call it, a lot of hardcore people, diehard people wanted to get in on this alpha. Declining numbers. Let's take a look at Arc Raiders for that. when they had their closed playtest, already all-time peak last month, 21,515. Now again, this was more open, this was all good, but the thing that you're going to notice with this limited test is that these numbers they went up. When it came out, 9,628, which is comparable to what Marathon's closed alpha had at its all-time peak. The difference is that over the few days that it had the alpha, it kept going up. And it only started to taper off when I think people kind of got their fill of the game and bounced off of it. Because it was, it's limited. It's an alpha. It's a closed playtest. The difference is that there was a lot more engagement, i.e. positive engagement around Arc Raiders. More people joined the alpha during the few days than left it. And even when people were leaving it, even at its absolute worst, at the end, 15,022 concurrent players at the very end of the alpha. That is still pretty damn good for an extraction shooter like this. Again, not a mainstream genre. Very niche, very hardcore genre. And this is a game that had all of the trappings of an extraction shooter. It had proximity chat. It had a crafting system. It had a the solo queue. It had all of these things that Marathon did not. And yet Bungie is acting like they are allergic to the words proximity chat. And they talk about solo queue as if, like, oh yeah, it's an afterthought, whatever. Because they are specifically designing that game for you and 3 other friends to go in. Now, I will grant you, Arc Raiders is also paid. But Arc Raiders is also coming out in October. And if Marathon gets delayed into next year, and it, even after reiterating on it, adding proximity chat, adding solo queue, replacing all of the stolen artwork from Anti-Real, combing through all the other assets, going through it. If Arc Raiders comes out in October and is a big hit, and Marathon comes out and it still does not do what Arc Raiders is doing as far as making the community happy, that's a death sentence. It's a death sentence for Marathon. So this whole thing about early engagement, for me, is extraordinarily disingenuous. Like, I'd be furious if I was a shareholder and I knew even like a little bit about what was going on with Marathon. And again, they don't mention the plagiarism thing once. Obviously, they're not going to mention it during this, but the fact that they're trying to obfuscate all the controversies around Marathon, they're trying to obfuscate. It's the meme of the dog sitting in the burning house, going, everything is fine. This is Herman Hulse sitting there drinking coffee. Yeah, oh yeah, everything is just fine. Well, the house is burning around him. So again, I this whole like we have early engagement. Get out of here with that, dude. Just no, come on. So the final thing I want to say, and this has nothing to do with the live service initiative, but it's a funny little thing that I noticed with this chart. In this Last of Us segment, like, you look at all of these other games that are comprising of the series, and they're unique games. Like, you look at Horizon, you have a Horizon 1, 2, VR game, Lego, Uncharted, 1, 2, 3, 4, Spider-Man 1, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, and so on with God of War and Gran Turismo and the show and whatnot. Look at The Last of Us. Last of Us 1. The Last of Us 1. The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us 1. And it has a higher position on the chart than Horizon and Uncharted. And it only has 2 games technically in here. Like, come on, guys. Seriously? Like, Come on, that's oh, that's funny. That says a lot about Naughty Dog's output this generation. Because if Faction were to have come out, damn well know it would have been in that chart as one of the games. So now we're gonna move on from the slides, and we're gonna introduce some audio into the equation, and we're gonna hear that audio from PlayStation themselves. Now, this is a presentation, fireside chat, the one that I mentioned earlier. Excuse me while I drink some water. Called the Game and Network Services segment, fireside chat. And it's presented once again by President and CEO of SIE, Hideaki Nishino. And again, more importantly, in my opinion, CEO and Studio Business Group, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Herman Hulst. I know they had the SVP of finance and corporate development there, Lynn Azar, but she doesn't say anything during the sections that I want to talk about. So it's I think it's almost exclusively going to be Herman Hulst and then the moderator that they have. Which, before I start this presentation, you're going to notice that this is it's pre-recorded for one thing. They're not taking any live questions. So all of the questions that they are going to ask Herman Hulst, or the moderator, I say they, but he, the moderator, is going to ask Herman Hulst. They're all pre-recorded. They're all pre-approved. They probably like nailed down this very specific, memorize this quote kind of thing with Herman Hulst talking about this. And normally when PlayStation does these kind of Q&As where the shareholders and investors are involved, they like to do it live. You may have seen that famous image, and I've used it in a couple thumbnails where Herman Hulst is going like kind of like that, where he has that look as if somebody farted really loudly next to him, where he just goes like, he has that look. There's a very funny meme from Radek, who's like a big PlayStation guy on Twitter. He made this funny tweet when the State of Play had come out last May that had Concord, a famous one that had Concord and Astrobot in it, and he put that image of Herman Hulst going, and the caption was, "What the fuck do you mean people like Astrobot more than Concord?" So anyway, my point is they usually take questions live, and they have to answer on the fly. That is not what they did this time. And you're going to notice right away that this is very controlled and very scripted and very PR speak. And I first want to start with, we're going to skip ahead, because a lot of the beginning of this, it's a lot of like Nishino talking about the business side of it, and not the portion of this that I am interested in hearing about is the stuff where Herman Hulst is talking. So we're going to go to Mr. Personality over here, and I'm going to shut up for a little bit, and I'm going to play you a clip from this, and I'll pause it when relevant.
How committed are you to live game services? Are you going to invest as much capital into live game services as you originally planned?
Yeah, we remain very committed to building a diverse and a resilient live service portfolio. I mean, we have MLB The Show, Destiny 2, Helldivers 2, and these are all really good examples of the type of titles that we're looking to develop.
Let me know if you guys need me to up the audio on this, by the way.
These titles have already established an enduring player experience, a set of player experiences and communities across quite a wide range of different genres. And together that provides a really good foundation for our ambitions in this category. I would say that additionally...
Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a sec. That... You'll notice how when he's talking about this whole thing, it's this this is the thing that Herman Hulst does all the time, where it's very like, yeah, the way we want to talk about this is, we have a very, a very nice group of passionate people and whatnot, and we're very committed to the live service initiative. And again, they can't tell their investors that, oh yeah, we're backing away from this. They have to tell them that they remain committed. And I assume that they do. But what they're going to admit from this, omit from this, is that they have had to dramatically scale back their ambitions compared to how it's been in previous years because of things like Concord, because of multiple project cancellations, because of them having a fucked up ass pipeline now, because of this whole live service thing that's got some splash damage on some of the studios. So, and again, I'm going to replay a portion of this. Just notice again the tone of his voice.
Leo, I mean, we have MLB The Show, Destiny 2, Helldivers 2, and these are all really good examples of the type of titles that we're looking to develop. These titles have already established an enduring player experience, a set of player experiences and communities across quite a wide range of different genres. And together, that provides a really good foundation for our ambitions in this category.
So, MLB The Show is it's an institution because I hate it. One of my biggest pet peeves when talking about this is whenever people bring up MLB The Show. It's like, look, this is an example of the success that they can have with the live service initiative. MLB The Show is a decades-long institution franchise. Helldivers 2 is not what they're looking for either. Helldivers 2, in my opinion, is probably the best they're going to get until Marvel Tokon comes out. And again, they are damn lucky to have something like Helldivers 2. But that is not what Herman Hulst, that is not what PlayStation and their ilk and all their shareholders are looking for. Again, I refer back to that chart that I showed at the beginning of the presentation, the slideshow. They want an EA Sports FC. They want a Roblox. They want a GTA 5. They want something that is going to contribute to the 53% of money that comes from those 10 core games that they showed in the chart. That is what they want with live services. That is why they have humiliated themselves time and time and time and time and time again throughout this generation to chase this live service golden goose. They want a Fortnite. They want a Roblox. They do not want a Helldivers 2. They don't. I don't even know if they want a Marvel Tokon. I think Helldivers 2 and Marvel Tokon are the best they can hope for, because those are games that are uniquely positioned to fill in gaps in the market that can be provided by PlayStation. Marvel Tokon, for instance, is something that is fulfilling a desire, is fulfilling a need. There is no other tag team stylish looking Marvel fighter out there on the market right now. Not since Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Infinite flopped, so we haven't had a genuine new Marvel fighting game in many, many, many years. Like a damn good one. PlayStation, because of their unique position with their foster relationship that they have with Marvel, plus them co-owning Evo, so they want more of this fighting game thing. They are in a unique position to leverage the business relationships and the strengths that they have to make something like this happen, to fulfill a specific need. That is the kind of direction that they should be going for with this live service thing. And don't make 12 of them. Start with 3. Start with 4. Hell, start with 4. Fine. You want to do that? Start with 4. Don't go 10 to 12 live services. That was always a stupid idea. And I don't need to graduate from Harvard to tell Herman Hulst this. So, we're going to continue from here.
I would say that additionally, we are continuing to invest in new live services, with Helldivers 2 providing such a great example of the level of success we can achieve if we get everything right. So that game has been a true breakout success. It's been attracting and retaining significant community and very engaged players since we launched that back in February of 24. And this ongoing success, I think, is further evidenced in how we deal with the monetization. So microtransactions now in that game make up more than half of the revenue. We're also very excited about Marathon's anticipated launch in this fiscal year.
Great.
Okay, so In my opinion, Helldivers 2 was successful in spite of PlayStation. Not because of them, because PlayStation, besides them appearing in a few state of plays, did fuck all to promote this game compared to other things like Concord or Marathon. So again, I love that they now have to kind of sit there. Herman Hulst has to sit there with his tail between his legs and go, oh, well, yeah, my baby, Concord, that didn't quite work out. But Helldivers 2, hey guys, we always believed in that. That did great, right? Look at us, Helldivers 2. It's doing great. And they're going to continue to talk about Helldivers 2 until they're blue in the face or until they have another live service success they can crow about. Which, again, Marvel Tokon, I don't even know if they're going to consider Marvel Tokon to be part of this live service initiative. Because, again, it's not in this... I don't think that's in pursuit of this Golden Goose Fortnite-esque live service they're looking for. But it's... Again, I think it's the best they're going to get. Damn, it's a shit. I would be happy to get Marvel Tokon. I could give a fuck if it was a Fortnite-esque success. I'd be happy to get something like Marvel Tokon, but that's not how PlayStation thinks, unfortunately. And that statistic that Hulse brings up about microtransactions making up half of Helldiver 2's revenue is intriguing to me because I have never once felt the desire to spend more money in Helldivers 2. Because Helldivers 2, in my opinion, is the very rare live service that is actually pretty damn generous with its currency. I would say from the perspective of them wanting to make more money, kind of too generous. Because it's actually very easy to do credit grind runs in Helldivers 2. All you gotta do is just pick a planet that you know will spawn the best chance of success with spawning the super credits and just grind for like a few hours and you're good. And you have enough currency to buy the battle pass. Like, I have bought almost every single battle pass in that game, and I have never spent a penny on Helldivers 2 beyond when I bought it initially back in 2024, February 2024. So big credit to Helldivers 2 that hey, Red Riot Robot. So it's a big credit to Arrowhead and Helldivers 2 that I think it's a testament to their quality, that even though they are very generous with the currency that they give out compared to a lot of other live services, that people are still willing to spend money on the microtransactions for the Super Earth credits. Because I assume that's what they're doing. Most of that money that Herman Hulst is talking about is coming from buying the Battle Pass. Because, again, it has a very healthy active user base, which is, again, it's great for something like Helldivers 2. It's great. I'm very happy for Arrowhead because I love Helldivers 2. So, and then again, we're gonna get into the the part that I have a lot to say.
Speaking of Marathon, what have you learned from your foray into live game services, including Concord? And how does this relate to Marathon and the recent alpha test?
Yeah. So live service, we really see that as a great opportunity for us. But with this great opportunity are some unique challenges associated. So we talked about it, some early success as with Helldivers 2. We've also faced some challenges as with the release of Concord. I think that some really good work actually went into that title, some really big effort. But ultimately, that title entered into a hyper-competitive segment of the market. I think it was insufficiently differentiated to be able to resonate with players. And so we have reviewed our processes in the light of this to deeply understand how and why that title failed to meet expectations and to ensure that we're not going to make those same mistakes again. As I said earlier, we've introduced much more rigorous processes for validating, for revalidating our creative, our commercial, our development assumptions and hypotheses, and we now do that on a much more ongoing basis. And that's the plan that will ensure that we're investing in the right opportunities at the right time, all while maintaining much more predictable timelines.
Okay, so the question I would have if I was a shareholder in this, if I had Herman Hulst's ear, I would want specifics. I would want to know what kind of rigorous processes he's talking about that they're using now to vet these live services. Who has come up with these rigorous processes? How long are you and I didn't intentionally mean to look like Herman Holst is seeing a ghost, but I would just want specifics, because it's one thing to say that that Concord came out and did not do much to differentiate itself, which is not wrong, but I think Herman Holst is also intentionally obfuscating a lot of the problems that Concord had, where he's not mentioning things like bad writing. He's not mentioning the $40 price point. He's not mentioning the very bad negative reception that it got from its initial reveal. He's not mentioning things like the very tepid, I think even tepid is being generous, the tepid response to both beta weekends. And another thing that he is neglecting to mention, which again, I don't think is, if I was Herman Holst, I wouldn't say this, but I in my own like ideal world, this whole thing, he neglects to mention that he was a big champion of this game, allegedly a big champion of this game behind the scenes. And when a thing that I've seen recently with some people is that when they are talking about the live service initiative, people like to go now, oh, we'll blame Jim Ryan for that. Let's blame Jim Ryan for that. And yes, Jim Ryan absolutely had a hand in this live service initiative. There is no denying that. If you are denying that, you're an idiot. Like, sorry, you are an idiot if you are denying that. But now Jim Ryan is gone. And now Herman Holst is in charge. The buck has to stop somewhere. And I'm sorry, the only person left is Herman Holst. He's the only guy left. Who else do I have to blame now that's a public-facing member of this regime that started at the beginning of the PS5 gen? Also, it's not like Jim Ryan was going around and deciding which games would, because he was obvious. To me, it's like what's lost on people, shockingly, is that Herman Holst has been there since the beginning of this whole push. Who the hell do you think Jim Ryan was getting advice from about what games to greenlight and what studios to acquire and what games, what upcoming games looked good to get into bed with, like Concord and Fair Games and Marathon? Herman Holst. And again, Herman Holst, and this is a mistake. This is where I will say I made a mistake. Like me, talking about me. I made a mistake where when Herman Holst was announced as one of the co-CEOs, he was announced as the big PlayStation guy, I said, okay, I'm a little bit more okay with this because he was in charge of a studio. Herman Holst, exactly, yeah, they were there at every announcement of the acquisition. You're absolutely right about that, Red Right Robot. That's another thing too. Herman Holst has been there since the beginning. And he's been at Guerrilla for a long time, not as a creative. He's not the one making Killzone. He's not the one making Horizon. He was one of the big corpo people at Guerrilla. Now, he was obviously very good at his job because Guerrilla turned into a very big, successful studio with Horizon. I'm not super crazy about Horizon personally. I really like the first one, but I'm kind of like, beyond that. But the man is very obviously good at running the business side of a major studio. I just personally don't think Herman Holst is good at his job when it comes to running PlayStation Studios. He is not a Shuhei Yoshida. He is not a Sean Layden. He's not an Andrew House. He's not even a Jack Trenton. Because he has no taste. He has no class when it comes to decide. He does not have the instincts for this. I've said this over, and I said I would try not to repeat things I've said in the past, but I cannot stress repeatedly enough times that this live service shit is not going to make dramatic changes until he is out of the captain's chair, because Herman Hulst does not have the good talent or instincts when it comes to live services. Maybe he's okay with single player games, in my opinion. He's okay. I'll give him Astrobot. I'll give him Saros. I'll give him cultivating a really healthy relationship with Kojima Productions. He and Kojima are like really good friends, unironically. Really good as far as the single player stuff. But he is not the guy for this live service thing. He does not know what bolder innovation means. He says it like it's just nothing. He just, like every game, every fucking announcement that came out from him during this generation, whether it's Fair Games or Concord or Bungie, it's like, it's bold, innovative, bold, innovative, bold, and innovative. This guy does not know what bold or innovative looks like. Even if something bold and innovative farted in his face, he wouldn't know what bold and innovative was. These are just buzzwords to him. It's like when Ubisoft back in the day, when they used to call everything iconic. When they said the guy from Watch Dogs, his baseball cap, it's that guy's iconic baseball cap. The fucking game isn't even out yet. How is fake Batman's hacker dude with the Batman voice, how is this cap iconic? It's just a buzzword. I'm sure Herman Hulst is a nice guy. Same with Jim Ryan. If I had the opportunity, I would love to have a beer with Herman Hulst and talk to him. I wouldn't be disrespectful. I wouldn't tell him that he lacks any taste to his face or anything like that. I would just want to talk to the guy. I just want to get into, like, I just want to see, like, what is his process for deciding what game is going to get the spotlight from PlayStation? What is his process? Why did he look at Concord and go, yeah, that's the one? Why did he look at Marathon and go, yeah, we got to get Bungie for that? He looked at Fair Games. Yeah, Fair Games, dude. Good stuff, man. With his do-rag and shit that Jade Raymond gave him. But his standards are just terrible. I'm sorry, for this live service thing, his standards are just terrible. So we'll continue.
For Marathon, it's our goal to release a very bold, very, very innovative and deeply engaging title. It's going to be the first new Bungie title in over a decade. So we're really excited for that release.
Okay, again, just buzzwords. Bold, innovative, engagement. What kind of engagement has Marathon been getting? Very negative, mostly, especially after that art plagiarism controversy. Now, I'm going to replay this segment again, but I'm going to play it with the sound off. And I want you to pay attention to Herman Hulst's face. And I want you to tell me if you guys notice anything. So again, I'm going to play this with the sound off and just watch his face while he's talking about this. Okay. Did you notice anything with Herman Hulst's face? I'll give you a few seconds to respond if you notice something with Herman Hulst's face. I'll take another sip of water while, in case anybody wants to respond in the chat. His eyes. Look at his eyes when he's talking. When he goes back to the close-up. Yes, he looks like he's thinking. Looks like he's thinking about every word. But look at his eyes. There is very obviously a monitor off screen that is telling him a teleprompter that is telling him exactly what to say. And to be 100% fair to Herman Hulse, I have done this before. I gave a presentation to a group of 20 people last month about something not related to video games at all, but I was giving a presentation, and I had to occasionally look at the screen that had my notes on it to say what was going on. But again, my point is, this is not normally how PlayStation presents its investments to Q&A. Or I'm sorry, I got those words wrong. It's Q&A to investors. It's not how it usually does this. What it usually does is it takes questions on the fly, and they do it live. They do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! Herman Hulse is shouting that at his investors. But this time, it's very obvious, and you can go and watch this video yourself. It's publicly available on Sony's website. Just play a little experiment. Just pick out any few minutes of this video and just turn the sound off and watch their eyes. It's the same thing. You'll notice them. They'll occasionally look over here. They'll occasionally look at the moderator. And in the case of Herman Hulse, he's always looking in this general direction, as if he's talking to somebody who's his family hostage off screen. They have his family, and it's this military, this blue dressed military garb, PlayStation logoed guardsmen that are holding AKs at his family, telling him, you will call Marathon a bold and innovative title. You will talk about Concord in a slightly positive light, even though it was the biggest failure in PlayStation history. So that I found to be funny. As somebody who studies psychology, just I love sometimes a thing that I love. It's when I'm watching a movie or when I'm watching some kind of presentation, I'll sometimes turn the sound off and I'll just watch the body movements. It's actually a really good exercise for movies. You can tell when you can sometimes tell the difference between a really great director and a bad director by turning the sound off and seeing how they frame actors on a stage and where the camera is placed and whatnot, because you don't have that audio sensory stuff kind of mixing in with your viewing experience of a movie. You have to watch it strictly visually, and you can tell just again look at this shit. Look at Herman Hulse while he's talking, looking over at the guardsman holding his family hostage, looking at the teleprompter, looking at the guardsman, teleprompter, guardsman, moderator, guardsman, moderator. I don't know where the fuck he's looking. Who the fuck is he looking at? That's why I make the joke that his family is being held hostage off stage, but it's who are you looking at? The people you want to be talking to are here. Look at her. Look at your boss. Look at the moderator more. Why are you looking all the way up here? It's so weird. This whole thing just gives this very strange vibe to it. That's it's the most corpo speak PR nonsense. It's
dude,
just when you go back and you watch interviews with people like Sean Layden and Shuhei Yoshida and even Andrew House, who had this guy's job, you can see that they were way more authentic, way better at publicly speaking without needing maybe they even had a teleprompter telling them what to say or giving them points. But you can tell that there has been a massive culture shift within PlayStation just by this interview alone. So go back. You know what? We're going to look at a video. We're going to look at, give me a sec. We're going to look at this video, and I want you guys to spot the difference between how PlayStation talks then versus now. I'm going to start this. Again, teleprompter telling Andrew House what to say. Obviously, Kojima is going to be asked what to say as well. They have this pre-recorded, but just notice the difference Just notice the difference.
皆さんこんにちは。ソニーコンピューターエンターテインメントのアンドルーハウスです。今日は皆さんと一緒に共有したいニュースがあります。私から直接皆さんと話したいと思い、このようなビデオで発表させていただきます。プレイステーションの歴史を一緒に作ってきた素晴らしいフランチャイズの、生みの親であり、なおかつゲームの歴史の中でも最も才能があるクリエイターの一人の方が今日ここ私と一緒にいます。
And again, this is not even like English. I don't think is Herman Hulst's primary language, but this Japanese is an extremely difficult language to learn, and this is not Andrew House's native language. But damn, can he speak Japanese?
ご紹介します。
And he can sound really like warm and authentic while doing it.
はい、皆さんこんにちは、小島です。本日付で、独立スタジオを立ち上げました。その最初のプロジェクトを
Kojima,
プレイステー
he
ション
always
と
sounds
始め
very
たい
like
と思っています。
authentic and whatnot.
プレイステーションとともにですね、大きなフランチャイズとなる、斬新なゲームを作っていきたいと思ってますので、よろしくお願いします。
ワクワクしますね。皆さんもそうだと思いますが、私もこれから本当に楽しみにしてます。小島さん、プレイステーションの代表して、なおかつファンとともに、小島さんの新しい出発を応援します。
はい、ありがとうございます。
頑張ってください。
Authentic, warm, smiling, even when there is a teleprompter there telling Andrew House what to say. You can get a feel for passion. You can get a feel for genuine excitement. Dude, if I was Andrew House and I was announcing to the world that I was partnering with PlayStation, if I was partnering with Kojima on a PlayStation exclusive, the one that ended up being Death Stranding, I'd be happy as fuck too. I'd be doing like somersaults. So again, it's like even when Herman Hulst is presenting Kojima, it's like it's so fucking bland and like I am so excited to talk about Kojima and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, look at this.
And now here with
So again, I don't even think Herman Hulst like is a bad person, but it's like just charisma void. Just listen to the difference.
And now here with me today is visionary game creator and founder of Kojima Productions, Kojima-san.
Hi.
Welcome. Today, I'm excited to announce that together, as part of the PlayStation and Kojima Productions partnership, Hideo is going to take us on an exciting new adventure. One that I've been encouraging him to reinvent for years.
はい、全く新しいオリジナルの IP になります。新
Kojima
世
talks,
代
blah,
の
blah,
アクショ
blah.
ンエスピオナージゲームです。
And Herman Hulst.
Kojima. This is a new action espionage game by Hideo Kojima. This is one of my favorite genres, one that I've been hoping you would revisit with a bold new vision. Can you share anything else about this new development?
ですね、まだ詳しくは言えませんけども、最先端の思っています。
We're all really excited about this project, and we will fully support you with the latest innovation Sony has to offer. More details to come.
Okay, so not terrible again, but notice the difference as far as talking, presenting, excitement, enthusiasm, authenticity. Just the way this is presented compared to the Andrew House video. The Andrew House one feels a lot more like intimate and low-key and more personable. This one, it's very sleek. You have the PlayStation Studios crap in the background. You have the Kojima position back there. You have... this is kind of a funny... Kojima looks kind of sad. And Herman Hulst is like... So... yeah, it's just... I really miss the old PlayStation guard when it comes to presentation, when it comes to talking. Just sound like a human being, for God's sakes. Just for God's sake, sound like a human being. So anyway, we're gonna go back to this. Unfortunately. I know, I'm sorry, I have to go back to this because now I have to get into probably to me the most eyebrow-raising part of this whole presentation. And I have saved this one for last.
We're monitoring, we're going through the test cycles, we're monitoring the closed alpha cycle that the team has just gone through. We're taking all the lessons learned, we're using the capabilities that we've built in analytics and user testing to understand how audiences are engaging with the title. And you know, some of that feedback, frankly, has been varied, but it's super useful. That's why you do these testings. And the constant testing and the constant revalidation of assumptions that we just talked about, to me, is just so valuable to iterate and to constantly improve the title. So when launch comes, we're going to give the title the optimal chance of success. And this cycle of test, of iterate, test again, that is such a key component of the live service success, both leading up to launch, but also throughout the life of the game. And we're committed to continuing to leverage our learnings to maximize engagement and player satisfaction throughout the life cycle of the title.
Okay, so a lot to say there. Saying that marathons, the discussion around marathon has been varied. This is where I would progress from calling it disingenuous into either straight up delusion or what I think is more accurate, deception. And this is something that Luke Stevens said, where this kind of talk, telling your investors, and again, I don't give a fuck about these investors, but if I was an investor and I even knew an inkling of what was going on with Marathon and with the Bungie, I would be pissed. Because I would feel like the wool is being pulled over my eyes with this whole thing. Because I feel like it is straight up deceptive labeling to say that the discussions around Marathon have been varied. That is maybe the most PR nonsense way to describe what is going on with Marathon. And the fact that, again, that they're not being honest with people. Again, this is where this inauthenticity comes in that I've talked about multiple times. And it's the most PR friendly spin on this whole Marathon situation. And the fact that, again, they do not mention once that Marathon is coming out this September or this year. They're talking about in fiscal year. They're talking about we will give it the optimal chance of success when it comes out. Buddy, I hate to tell you this, Mr. Holst, there really is no optimal chance of success with Marathon. Even if you do delay it into next year, if you delay it into March, by that point, Arc Raiders will been out for a few months. It will probably have gotten some updates by then, and if it's a success, you have a major 90-degree hill to climb, my guy. That's going to be a massive undertaking to get the turn the public sentiment tied in your favor when it comes to Marathon. Yeah, it's varied between it's okay, this is dead in a few months, to plagiarism to make me go. Yeah, exactly. It's varied. It's like, I guess legally it is true that the response around Marathon has been, the conversation around Marathon is varied. But again, it's deception. It's very deceptive to say something like this. And again, PlayStation, I think they have given too much leeway to PlayStation to have these failures. If I was a shareholder, I'd be demanding more accountability from PlayStation. I'd be demanding a lot of fucking I'd probably be demanding for Herman Holst's job by this point, with all the fuck ups that they've had these past few years, with the literal billions of dollars they've thrown down the toilet, pursuing Bungie, the lemon that is Bungie, pursuing Fair Games, pursuing Concord, canceling all these live services, just a complete misallocation of their in-house talent to some of these live services. So again, it's just, and I wonder too if Herman Holst is delusional. because I think it's just I think if I'm going to use Occam's razor, the simplest explanation is probably the most accurate one. I would say he's being deceptive, but I do wonder if there is this little bubble of delusion that Herman Holst is living in, because this corpo world is like, it might as well be a completely different place. You know how I've talked about how I think places like LA and San Francisco might as well be their own little planets, their own little bubbles. I think this way with the corpo world, where I take a peek inside the very carefully curated presentation of this corpo speak that Herman Holst and Nishino and whoever the hell this is are cultivating for investors. And I'm like, is the truth even reaching you guys? Like, are you guys even aware of the negativity that's around Marathon? Or like, I'm 95% sure that they are. And again, they're being deceptive, but there's that 5% of me that really genuinely thinks that Herman Holst is delusional, because I don't know how you look at something like Concord and go, that's our Star Wars. How does that happen? Any monkey with a brain could look at Concord and go, no. They would pull some poo right up from their booty hole and just throw it right at Concord if a monkey stared at it. I don't know how you... This is like if I wrote a crappy... Like, if I took one of my, like, crappy... Because I used to write, like, kind of crappy like, science fiction stories back when I was in middle school. It's like if I took one of those stories and said, this is the next Star Trek. It's like if I did that. Like, that kind of delusion. But I was like 12 when I did that. This is a fucking 50-year-old man running around saying that Concord is the future of PlayStation and a Star Wars-like IP. There is just that 5% of me that thinks that there's some serious delusion. Like, whatever hopium Herman Holst is snorting, like, I want some of that. That is a potent dose of hopium that Herman Holst is snorting there. But it is just, I just don't know how you have this kind of thinking, and yet it's like, unless they're going to make some dramatic changes to Bungie over the next few months, and again, they haven't publicly said anything with Marathon. They've only said it in these investor meetings that 99% of the people are not going to see. It's only the weirdos like me that love this insider baseball shit with PlayStation that are going to find something like this and use context clues to figure out what's going on. They're not going to announce this until they have to, that Marathon has been delayed. But I am 100% sure now that it's been delayed. Probably out of 2025. But if they're going to go into Marathon with the same level of thinking, same kind of thinking that got them to acquire Bungie in the first place, that got them to acquire Firewalk, that got them to throw their whole support into Fair Games. Again, the most ironic thing about Helldivers 2 is that that's the live service they had the least amount of input in compared to everything else, and it's not really what they were looking for, but it's been their most successful. The irony is very funny to me. So the final part, we're gonna look at this one more time, because we're gonna hear from Herman Holst himself about his hollow quality standards, and I want this to be the final point before I spend the rest of the stream just chatting with y'all, just taking some of the questions like Sonic, which I appreciate. I've seen the questions, and I appreciate you being patient. So we're gonna hear what Mr. Holst has to say about his quality assessment.
Great. What is your philosophy around creating IP? Is it a priority, and how do you ensure that it is differentiated?
At our core, we believe that great new IP originates from passionate teams with amazing ideas. And it's our job as leadership to create an environment, to foster an environment in which these teams can succeed. As leadership, we support them with the tools, the capabilities, the structures that they need to develop those ideas into successful new IP. So we recently formed, out of incubation, 2 new studios, Dark Outlaw Games and Team LFG. And I think that kind of highlights further our commitment to the creation of new IP as well as to our approach to innovation. These 2 teams, they're new, but they are comprised of veteran developers from across all different pockets of the industry. Their vision and their ideas have blown me away, and the passion behind it. I really and honestly cannot wait to help shepherd their projects into success. So both by investing in strong vision-led creative teams and by better leveraging, on the other hand side, data and understanding our portfolio, those 2 things together, we're now able to better explore new ideas and genres beyond the core competencies. And that helps us diversify our portfolio to appeal to new players everywhere.
So it's a lot of corpo speak for we give our teams the tools that they need to succeed, and we're looking to diversify our portfolio, which that latter part, obviously, I think is a good thing. And I think they are showing signs of that in small ways with something like Marvel Tokon and Astrobot and the Metroidvania that's rumored to be in development from them. But again, I seriously question any game, even if I know in my heart that it is excellent. I seriously question any game or any company or any person that blows Herman Holst away. This is why I am very, very skeptical about Team LFG. This is why I'm very, very skeptical about Dark Outlaw Games. Because the games that supposedly blow Herman Holst away, that he considers visionary-led and passionate, are things like Concord and Marathon and Fair Games. I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Fair Games for the first time, didn't really blow me away. Didn't really scream visionary or passion or creativity. It just screamed bland. It screamed played out. It screamed hypocritical. It screamed irritating. And I think the thing that is lost on Herman Holst, or again, this is just PR bullshit, or he's delusional, I don't know. But the thing that I have come to realize with a lot of these teams that are made up of veterans, as he's talked about with Team LFG and with Dark Outlaw, is that having a team of veterans does not guarantee a good team. Just take a look at Sandfall Interactive that made Expedition 33. Expedition 33 is one of the best games I've ever played. And it comes from a team that has never worked together before this game and is made up of mainly junior talent in the industry. The core team at Sandfall, not including the contractors and stuff like that. Game development, like anything else, whether it's going to a job, whether it's a team for a school project, you can never really be 100% sure that the team synergy is going to be there. Because I've seen this firsthand, where I have been a part of teams that just naturally work together. And then I've seen what happens with other teams that are made up of good people, but the team synergy just is not there. And that's something that I think is very important for game development. That's something that I think is very overlooked and underrated in games development. When we look at why a team succeeded or why a game failed, it's synergy. Like, they enjoy working with one another. They have really good project management. They have really vocal, encouraging feedback. They're allowed to speak their mind. They're allowed to give brutal feedback to one another. They're allowed an environment where they can work together and be happy and be the very best they can be. And that clearly is an environment that was there with Sandfall Interactive, because it shows in Expedition 33. It's very clear that that's an environment with Team Asobi because of Astrobot. It's not at all... That did not happen, obviously, with Concord. That's obviously not happening at Bungie, and that is not happening at Fair Game Studio Haven. Especially when you have, like, Jade Raymond out the door before the game has even come out. So, I just can't take Herman Hulst at his word that these new teams, Dark Outlaw, and again, Dark Outlaw is coming from Jason Blundell. Jason Blundell already tried this with Deviation, and that did not go well at all, to the point where that team is now dead. And Jason Blundell is now working on his own thing. And who's to say that's not going to happen again with Dark Outlaw? Maybe Jason Blundell is the problem. I don't know. We don't know very much information about why that studio closed. But, again, I don't trust Herman Hulst's instincts to see visionary things. I trusted... Shuhei Yoshida wasn't perfect, but I trusted his judgment. I trusted Sean Layden's judgment. I trusted Andrew House's judgment. I just don't trust Herman Hulst's judgment when it comes to what games are worthy of PlayStation's time and money. Because I just think his quality standards are completely fucked when it comes to this live service thing. He doesn't have any taste. He doesn't have the eye. You either have the eye or you don't. Shuhei Yoshida has the eye. Sean Layden has the eye. Herman Hulst does not have the eye. He's a businessman. He's not a guy who's a creative. Like Jade Raymond, where people were falling over themselves going, oh my god, Jade Raymond is at a new studio. Second coming of Jesus is here with Jade Raymond. She's not a creative. She's a business person. And not a very good one, if her recent track record is anything to go by. So, anyway, that is all I have to say about this presentation. I'll put the link for this video in the description later, so you guys can check it out on your own time if you want to. But, yeah, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, so for my first time doing something like this, I really appreciate you guys coming out and watching. And then I'm gonna quickly exit out of my notes that I have, and then let me go back to the chat and answer some of your guys' questions, like Sonic. I'm only gonna be on for maybe about like 20 more minutes, and then I will dip after that. Talk about Sonic's questions. So, demanding poor optimized games like Bayonetta 3 and Batman Arkham Knight will get big boosts in backwards compatible Razer. Oh yeah, I already answered. Like I said, I don't think Bayonetta 3 is gonna get a native compatible thing, but I don't even think Arkham Knight is going to either, because WB is just in deep shit right now. So I think the best we can get is hopefully maybe the better hardware on Switch 2 will just brute force the performance of Bayonetta 3 to something tolerable, something good. But I don't think that's going to be the case with Arkham Knight. I would personally like to see a 60 frames patch for Animal Crossing. I know that's completely unnecessary, but I would like to see it. It'd be cool. So the other question is the Switch 2 worthy of getting right away, or better to wait until more games come out? I would say you can just wait. Like I agree with David. You can just wait. And I've been having a very good time with my Switch 2, but not a lot of people are fortunate like me to have gotten the Switch 2 as a gift. So right now, I like, to be honest, if I'm being like 100% honest, I don't think Mario Kart World is worth $80. I think it's a fun game. I think that Battle Royale mode is pretty damn fun. But $80 for that game, I think is ridiculous. I think that is like, no, that's a big no for me at $80. But if Donkey Kong Bonanza is as fun as I think it's gonna be, I think, because that was the main reason I wanted to get a Switch from day one because of Bonanza, because I think that game looks, I think it looks awesome. That was the one I was definitely much more I was more interested in compared to Mario Kart World. So I think you can wait, Sonic. I honestly I think you can wait as well, David. I think waiting until beginning of next year, once the rush has kind of died down, there's more exclusive games, like things like World and Bonanza. They'll have the library of World and Bonanza and Kirby Air Riders, the Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, things like that. So that will be available for you day one. Also, I've been really enjoying the Switch 2 versions of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, more Tears of the Kingdom, just because I've been replaying that on the Switch 2, and it has been, seeing that game run at 60 frames, seeing both those games run at 60 frames was quite something. I mean, I've seen like hacked versions of those games being played at 60 frames, the modded ones, but to play it for myself on my Switch 2, Tears of the Kingdom at 60 frames was quite something. I made a new save file in Breath of the Wild just to see the opening bit in 60 frames, and it's something. It really is beautiful. But you think any conspiracy around Sony wanting to push out Marathon to prevent the C-suite at Bungie from vesting their stocks next summer holds any water? I'm conflicted about this conspiracy theory, because I think anything is possible in the world of this alien world of corpo nonsense. But I know PlayStation really wants Marathon to succeed, and I know that, I think the report is that a lot of senior talent at Bungie are going to leave next summer once they have gotten their final retention bonuses from PlayStation. But I don't know. I think it holds water. I think it's definitely something to consider, since PlayStation is very adamant about, now if PlayStation was still sticking to the September 23rd release date for Marathon, when it obviously needs to be delayed, like, you'd have to be a moron to think Marathon is ready to go by September 23rd. You'd have to be a moron to think it is, because it's not. Like, objectively, it's not. But if they delay it into next year, I believe Herman Hulst when they said they're going to try to give it an optimal chance of success. The problem is that I don't think there really is an optimal chance of success for Marathon, because when I did that video about assessing the live services that PlayStation had coming up and what my personal opinion on their chances would be, I gave Marathon I said in the short term it was going to be a success, and I said the long term is more 50-50, kind of like a big question mark. Now I'm not even sure about the short term because of everything that has happened. I just think the community, I think that the people that are big on Bungie will still buy the game. I think the streamers that are there for Marathon, that make their money from Destiny content, from Bungie content, are going to buy it. People like Asdacross and My Name is Bife and people like that. And that's not a knock against them. They're doing their jobs. They do what they got to do because that's their channel. But I don't think this is going to be the big mainstream success that Sony and Bungie need it to be. Because if I remember correctly from Paul Tassi's reporting, who's very reliable. I know some people really don't like Paul Tassi, but I think he's very reliable when it comes to Bungie information, because he has a lot of insiders in that company. Same with Jason Schreier, not Kotaku, Bloomberg, and Rebecca Valentine at IGN. I think he said that his insiders told him that Marathon, for it to be a success, considered a success internally, it needed to be in the top 5 selling games on the NPD chart. Paul's the Bungie guy. Yeah. I think he said that somebody told him Marathon needed to be in the top 5 NPD chart for 2024 if they were to, or 2025 if they were to consider Marathon a success, which that ain't gonna happen. Like, that's not gonna happen. Even with Grand Theft Auto 6 out of the equation for this year now. Definitely isn't gonna happen next year. 2026 is fucking stacked with games. Already, lots of stuff coming out in 2026. Not even including the gigantic meteor that is Grand Theft Auto 6. So I hate to tell PlayStation and Bungie this, but your game is not gonna top not gonna be in the top 5 NPD charts from Circana. Hate to tell you that, guys. It ain't gonna happen. So you need to get some more realistic financial expectations in there. That's NBA 2K. Yeah, you need to be like an NBA 2K. You need to be a sports game. You need to be a big, noticeable franchise like Hogwarts Legacy, or you need to be something like Resident Evil or Assassin's Creed, something like that, in order to get into a top 5 NPD. Not Marathon, not an extraction shooter. It ain't gonna happen. So, personally think it's somewhat true, but at least they'll delay it to March before the fiscal year ends. If PlayStation really wanted to give Marathon an optimal chance of success, they would delay it by another year. They would delay it by another... I've seen some people say that it needs to be delayed into 2027. And that's definitely not going to happen, but I definitely think that would benefit the game. The problem is that how much more investment is PlayStation willing to put into Bungie and into Marathon? Because they have already contributed well over $4 billion into Bungie by now, just through the acquisition, through retention, through keeping Destiny 2 afloat, through the whole Marathon thing, through restructuring the studio, through breaking away Team LFG, the incubation project, the Gummy Bears thing, and making it its own separate studio. They've already spent well over $4 billion on Bungie by this point. And they're continuing to pour money into Bungie each and every single day that Marathon does not come out. Every day until it comes out, that's more money being added onto that $4 billion tab that Bungie has. That, by the way, they are never, ever, ever, ever going to pay off for PlayStation. And what I find hilarious is that there is a quote, unironically a quote, from Jim Ryan back when the whole FTC thing was going on with Activision, Blizzard, and Microsoft, where he said that Sony is going to get more out of Bungie than Microsoft will get out of Activision. That quote is that is a historic level of delusion or deception or a lie after everything that has happened. And I want to end this, because we're almost done. I want to end this by giving a shout out to Rick Hogue, who does the Hogue Law channel. He's also one of the co-hosts of the Bitcast. Very cool dude. If you don't know who he is, I highly recommend his channel. Very knowledgeable. Very even though I definitely don't agree with a lot of his game analysis and taste, but I respect that he's willing to put himself out there and say all these things. When it was announced that PlayStation was acquiring Bungie, I'll never forget this. He was on a podcast with Mr. Matty Plays and Lord Cognito of the Iron Lords podcast, and they were talking about this Bungie acquisition by PlayStation. And the exact phrase that Rick Hogue used was delusions of grandeur when it came to Bungie. Because if you go back and look at the press statement from that acquisition, you'll see that part of their ambition was that they wanted to be more than a video game studio. They wanted to bring Destiny to the masses. They wanted it to be this big IP. They wanted it on movie studios and anime and lunchboxes and Netflix shows and all that crap. And that never happened. And I will never forget Rick Hogue saying, because he was 100% right. He was completely vindicated when he said delusions of grandeur when it came to Bungie. And I always held on to that quote. Something about the way he said, probably the way he said it, and just the amount of respect I have for the guy. I never forgot it. When he was talking about Bungie, he's very specifically said delusions of grandeur. That is exactly how I would describe this whole PlayStation Bungie thing at this point. These both in terms of PlayStation's ambitions and in terms of Bungie's. Because I really doubt what has happened with this live service thing and Bungie internally is what the leadership at both PlayStation and Bungie had in mind when they put ink to paper when signing those contracts and giving Bungie that much power within PlayStation Studios. Writing in their press statement that Bungie had more freedom than your average PlayStation acquisition. They made this huge point about, we're not going to be a PlayStation exclusive studio. We're going to publish multi-platform. We're independent. You know, PlayStation may own us, but we're independent. And that has not really worked out so well for Bungie or PlayStation. And I think a big part of that has to do with Mr. Personality right here. Sitting right there looking at the guards holding his family hostage while he reads off the teleprompter. So, we'll see what happens. Either way, I'll be here. I'll have something to talk about. And I thank you all for watching today. Again, this stream has been a little bit of an experiment for me because I don't really usually do stuff like this when it comes to streams, but I'm really glad you guys came to watch. I appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate you guys talking in the chat. So special shout out, thank you Sonic, thank you David, thank you Nero, thank you Richard, thank you Red Riot Robot. And yeah, so I will catch you all next time. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you again so much for coming by. And yeah. See you all later. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.